Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Wednesday night segment of The Outer Realm. We are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM from the Gulf Coast, 107.7 FM from beautiful New Orleans. We are fully sponsored, as we have been for several years now, by the amazing people over at Folgers Coffee. And again, probably for about 6.5 years now. So huge thank you to Folgers. We couldn't do it without you, nor would we want to. Also, big thank you to Steve McGinnis, the artist behind the logos here at the show. Check him out on Facebook and Instagram. Does amazing commission pieces, specializes in the horror and Halloween genre. So it's always a lot of fun. And of course, you've noticed the intro, but we do want to extend a huge thank you, much gratitude to Justin Snicker, our award-winning composer, whose intro we have been using now for, again, several years, and we appreciate him so very much. Okay, what's new? We have some changes here on the Outer Realm. So going forward, you guys have been seeing me solo for the last, for the most part, for the last year and a half. But Amelia will not be returning to the show, at least as a regular host by any means. She's going to be concentrating on her craft, which is helping those who need it the most, which of course are the children. And that's basically what she does, is finds missing kids. Anybody who is lucky to have her on their side will definitely be fortunate, because she is second to none, and I know she's just going to do a world of amazing good. But I have no doubt she's not going to totally leave our UPRN family. You could probably maybe catch her on some of the weekend shows, and you never know, she may pop in for open discussion over here for old time's sake, which would be awesome. So that is the news there. And of course, the new time on Thursdays, also wanting to let you know, 8 p.m. still stands. Haven't decided if I'll be moving down with the Wednesday show or not. But look forward to all of the usual fun stuff, a lot of the old faces that you know and love, and many new faces coming on board. And that it will be tonight, again, starting with Jack Bialik, and a seasoned professional with over 30 years of experience across diverse fields, from electrical engineering to biblical studies. His remarkable journey, marked by innovative projects for organizations such as the U.S. Air Force, Department of Homeland Security, earned him recognition and respect in the science and technology domain. His professional prowess, thirst for knowledge, and commitment to global betterment make him truly an influential figure. So you can discover his journey, which begins here for us, and his insightful experiences within the pages of the book we will be discussing, which is Lost in Time, Our Forgotten and Vanishing Knowledge. So this information is going to leave you questioning everything, because how many times do we talk about that? But Jack also gives insight into how incredibly advanced these ancient civilizations truly were, and also addresses the importance of preserving our lost knowledge. So without further ado, Jack, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you. The book, incredible cover. Right there. That gives any idea of what we're looking for. But the book uncovers knowledge we have forgotten and destroyed, and delves into the fate that awaits us as history repeats itself. My gosh, no truer words have been said or written, because this seems to be something that keeps happening. We repeat ourselves, but why do we have to lose the knowledge in the process of the repetition?
Yeah. Well, this book talks all about our lost and forgotten knowledge, and you might wonder, how can you write about something that's lost and forgotten? I mean, it's
Yeah,
lost and forgotten, right?
right. So it begs to differ. How do we know what's
Yeah.
been forgotten?
Well, it was forgotten, but we found it again, and we have a knack for doing that. And when I say we, I mean humanity has a knack for losing things and then finding them again. And, many of your listeners here might be surprised to find out how much, uh, what do you want to say, inventions, how
Yeah.
much knowledge we've lost and forgotten and then found it again. How about some things we've done 2,000, all these things over 2,000 years ago?
Yeah.
Cataract surgery, batteries, toilets and plumbing done like 5,000 years ago, vending machines 2,000 years ago, cranial surgery, all these things, all different, you know, genres of knowledge and wisdom that we've had. And we constantly will invent something and then
Yeah.
through various means,
Hmm.
whether on purpose or on accident, we
Yes.
lose and forget them and destroy them.
Oh yeah, you can get me started on that. I just it's so frustrating. I have to start though. I have to ask, what made you decide to want to delve into this type of writing because it's very, very well researched and very in depth. There's so
Yeah.
much in there.
Yeah. Well, this book took 10 years to
Ooh,
put together. So
wow.
it was
Wow.
quite an endeavor. I'm a researcher and a collector of ancient knowledge, is what I
Wow.
like to call it.
Yes.
And just by collecting that and over the years, over 10 years, probably more than 10 years, actually,
Mhm.
I've collected all this and put it together in a book. And once I did that, I thought, hey, what's the point? I mean, so, each of
Yeah.
these things are pretty interesting, but
Yeah.
what are we going to gain from it? So, with my background in technology, I've kind of said, hey, what are we doing today? What are we doing with our knowledge today? Are we doing something that we're going to lose it again? Do we have a potential for doing that?
Yes.
And so we can talk about that more. But I think
I say yes.
the
We will lose it again.
opportunity, the opportunity is there. Yes, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you see the pattern, it starts to unfold. And I tend to wonder, I mean, I understand, with ancient libraries. I use the Ancient Library of Alexandria as a perfect
Mm,
example. It's gone, but we still have hopes with the library in Tibet, the ancient library in Tibet, and I believe they
mm.
found one in Romania. Can't even go on about the Vatican because I'm sure they've got everything, but private collections maybe throughout the world. Like I think it exists somewhere. It's just a matter of, you know, who's made privy to it, who is not made privy to it, and maybe some of it is just being deciphered as well in some of these old scrolls. But do you feel that the ancients were good record keepers? I mean, if you can make inventions like that, you must have been.
Well, what would surprise many people is that the folks 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago were just as smart as we
Yeah.
are today. They really are.
Yes.
And the only difference is they had different tools to use,
Hmm.
so that caused, them to live their life the way they did. But
Yes.
they all wanted to save the information for the future. Um, you mentioned about Tibet. I heard just recently that China is going in there and destroying some of those libraries in Tibet.
Oh, that would be
Yeah,
just terrible.
yeah. Some of those
Oh,
wheels they had
yes.
and certain uh, scrolls and that sort of thing. So very sad. But we've done this many times. Baghdad during the war in Iraq,
Hmm.
we destroyed over 1 million artifacts in the libraries
Oh,
and museums there. And
wow.
it wasn't done by one group. It
Yes.
was, you know, by multiple armies. It was done by the
Hmm.
people in Iraq. It was done by
Oh,
the
the looting.
soldiers. It was done by
Yes.
all sorts
Yes.
of people who went around
Yes.
and destroyed it. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I mean, if you look at all the world, even the two world wars and how many battles have been waged through the centuries, I mean, the fact that anything has survived to me is amazing. And there's these lost treasures or hidden treasures everywhere that because of cataclysm or just because of human war, throughout medieval times and such. How do you find anything? How did you get this book done? Seriously, the odds were stacked against you, Jack.
Yeah. Well, and that's a great point you make, though. The all the archives that we've had and then lost. I mean, and we can't find them.
Yeah, yeah,
There's so many examples of that. George Washington buried a little time capsule there at the White House,
yeah.
and they lost it. They've looked for it a couple times. They looked for it, I think, in the 1800s. I don't know if the recent reconstruction there they looked
Oh,
for it, but be that as it may, it got lost. And we have
yes,
so many examples of lost time capsules and libraries. You know,
yes,
it's just
yes.
it's sad. It is unfortunate.
It is, but you somehow managed to find all of this incredible information, and some of it is mind blowing. For me to think about cataract surgery 2,400 years ago, it's 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 mind blowing to think that this was a thing.
Yeah, yeah. They found on the it's called the Ebers Papyrus.
Mhm.
So it's this, a written document,
Yes.
and they found examples and pictures of how they did cataract surgery in
Mhm.
2400 BC. So that would be 4,400 years ago that they did that.
Mhm.
And of course, it wasn't exactly how we do it today. It's a different procedure.
Mhm.
And it wasn't as effective. It was only maybe 40% effective. So
Yes.
60% of the people ended up blind anyways. But, the fact that they did it and they knew about it
Mhm.
was done in 800 BC by Shashruta in India.
Mhm.
Um, he did that surgery there. That physician was very famous and did
Mhm.
all kinds of surgeries. He knew about diabetes. He did nose jobs. He did
That's
all kinds of things.
craziness.
Yeah, yeah.
That is
So
craziness.
yeah, so we learn about these things and we do them for a while and forget
Mhm.
about them.
Mhm.
Some cases are unfortunate. I want to mention one case where the in Peru, they were doing cranial surgery, which is, the skull.
Yeah.
If somebody got hit on the head and they had their skull damaged, they would go in and do surgery on their skull in 400 BC. And they continued doing it until the year 1400. Well, in the year 1400, they were over 90% successful in their surgeries.
Wow.
Well, if you just fast forward a little bit of time to the Civil War in the United States,
Mhm.
we did cranial surgery and it was only 50% effective, successful.
Wow.
So if we could have somehow kept that knowledge and transferred it, and kept it current so that
Mhm.
the latest doctors knew about it, we probably could have saved a lot of lives.
Oh, without a doubt. So, where did it get lost in a matter of you're talking, from the 1400s to 400 years?
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Not that long, right?
no, no, in the grand scheme of things, no, not
Right.
really.
Yeah. Well, it probably got lost. I'm not exactly sure, but
But it is
I'm
interesting.
sure that when the Spanish came in, the conquistadors or
Yeah.
whatever came in
Mhm.
and
Yes.
destroyed a bunch of things, and
It's the
um,
age old story, isn't it?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
just the destruction of knowledge. But when you mentioned, you know, India and you mentioned, the Middle Eastern countries, it reminds me of something that I read when I was just because I research all the time. But when you look at the Sultan Saladin, who knew how to make ice, he had ice
Oh,
in the desert,
yeah.
ice. Where do you find ice in the desert? Like it's fascinating, and it seems like something is so simple to us to make ice. See, we have the technology to do it quite easily, or we have get ice from our environment, but out in the desert, and he would always have like he would have these urns, or not urns, but bowls with ice.
Hmm.
I'm
Wow.
thinking, yeah, it's just one of these simple, but again, you're in the desert. It's just the littlest things. And when you think about how people would go in and be educated in different parts of the world, I guess in the old mystery schools, as they say, like this was technology or some of it that could be passed on
Yeah.
if they knew about it.
Yeah. And some of it is, people like to hold this stuff close, and not
Yeah.
share it. And
Yes.
sometimes it makes sense, um, there might be a reason for it, but
Yeah.
in many cases, I'll talk about the celestial globes in Lahore, India, in the 1500s, where they made these solid metal globes.
Yeah.
Today we don't really make solid metal globes. We
No.
make two halves and we put them together, and then we
Yes.
solder them, and we'll sand them down, make them nice.
Mhm.
But this family knew how to make solid metal globes, and they've x-rayed them. We have examples of them. We know they didn't take two halves and put them together. And today our manufacturing processes would be hard pressed to make anything like that.
Oh,
So the
without a
knowledge
doubt.
died with the family. Yeah.
Yes, without a doubt. It again, it brings to mind, all of these the crystal skulls that you read about. With the technology you would need, there are people now who try to do it with lasers, and it's a lot of work. So, to try to go back into the past again, whether it's South America, apparently they're all over the world, but one was found in South America, and when they were trying to look at it, they're just like, how could this have been created? Even something as simple as trying to carve, like obsidian. It was so hard.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, yeah. I'm sure, I'm positive there was technologies that ancient people had that rivaled our own. The
Yeah.
only reason it's different is because it's based on a different, theory. We have certain theories about how the everything works, about how life works, atoms and molecules and
Yes.
that sort of
Yes.
thing. So that's what we base everything on
Yes.
today. But they didn't have that. They based it all on something else, some other basis. So they probably came up with some interesting ideas. There's a lot of examples around the world.
Mhm.
There's the big elephant in the room. I'll bring it up. The the pyramid at Giza,
Oh, can we talk
Egypt.
about that elephant in the room? Because that seems to be that elephant's getting a lot of attention right now.
Yeah. Well, I just there and there's a lot of theories out, a lot of different ways, aliens, or whether it was,
Sure.
hydraulics or different, and of course they didn't use wheels, they didn't use pulleys. And I'm going to tell you why they didn't use wheels and pulleys. It's because they didn't need wheels or pulleys. However, they did it without them because they
Yes.
didn't need them. And
Yes.
the other thing that I did was real simple. I just did some simple math, and anybody can do this. You can look it up. You can do it yourself. There's 2.3 million stones in one of the pyramids. 2.3 million. We think they did it in 20 years. So if you just do the math, that means they're laying one 3-ton stone or bigger every 2 minutes, 12 hours a day, 365 days a year for 20 years.
No
Now,
way.
I mean, yeah,
No way.
it's phenomenal. It would rival anything we could do. I mean, I'm sure we could do it, but it would just be an engineering feat. Now they did that, what, 4 or 5, 6,000 years ago.
Yes.
Just
Yes. But
incredible.
unless you go into the theory, that giants walk the earth, that
Yeah.
back then, and maybe it's just
Picked them up.
like Tetris or Lego, but that would be a stretch. That would be a stretch. But I mean, the ancients did speak of, um, having. I mean, you see it in cave art, petroglyphs, hieroglyphs. Where or if you find out of place artifacts, such as like the entrance to the tomb of King Seti. Where they've got like a little craft. It looks like a military helicopter. Like you're looking at this thing, going, how? Like, where
Yeah.
did that come from? So they were very open because they drew, and they recorded and emulated what they saw, or feared or admired. And it's all over the place. Is it possible that may have been, more advanced beings on the planet at the time who taught? Were they the advanced beings, and they just beamed up and left the rest of us here to fend for ourselves?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
And there's a lot of examples. There's an interesting one, the Harpanan civilization in the Indus Valley. It's near Pakistan
Yes.
and India. And they found evidence of something like a nuclear explosion there. They have found artifacts that have been glassified that, would take extreme heat to,
Yeah.
turn into glass. So it's interesting. Of course, there's no proof of that. I like those crystal skulls. Of course,
Yeah.
there's a lot of debate,
Yes.
some people saying, well, they were made in the 1800s or whatever,
Mhm.
and I'm even thinking, well, the 1800s, so what? I mean, how did they?
I know. Well, they say some were older. I'll tell you, I had someone on the show a few years back, and they've got a collection of Knights Templar. It
Mm,
was called a Tomar Hoard. It took 10 years to amass this thing. As antiquities collectors, they were able to put it all together. One, it was a chalice made out of obsidian that
mm.
allegedly took something like 7 years to just carve it. So it's probably about this big. I'm thinking 7 years. That's just one piece. And that's not crystal. That's obsidian. So I'm thinking to myself, like, what kind of tools would you need? Even at 7 years, to try, I lose my
Yeah.
mind after one. Uh,
Well, and then there's the another really great example that I love is the Qin Shi in China. The
mhm.
first emperor of China lived in 210 BC, and he built a mausoleum. And you may have seen pictures of it. The terracotta army.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
That's a marvel.
just amazing. But
Yes.
here's the really well. So they made 7,000 of the warriors. They're in multiple pits, cover 538 acres. Just an amazing piece of work. But
Mhm.
here's what's really interesting, and why it might rival our technology, is that they know where he's buried. They know the mound where he's buried, but the
Mm.
archaeologists will not open it because from what's written about it, it's booby trapped.
Aren't
And
they
it's
all?
booby trapped in a way that they don't want to open it.
Wow.
The front
Wow.
door on it is made out of rock that's magnetic. So if someone were to try to use tools, like iron tools, to try to open it, it would attract the metal
Mhm.
tools, make it very difficult.
Yeah.
Um, but there's other things. It's got a river of mercury around it, so that it would be quite dangerous
Yes.
for anybody to go in there.
That would
So, yeah,
I mean, but it just goes to show when you look at some of these ancient monoliths, and this tomb, for example, the technology behind it, that, to have engineered something like that. Like, I feel sorry for the people who had to put it together, because it would have been just as dangerous for them. Guessing they
yeah.
never made it out.
Well, I'm sure some of that happened.
I know, I know. But it is quite an engineering marvel to even put together even just the terracotta army would have been something just so incredible at the time because apparently each face resembled one of his guard,
Right. They
you
weren't
know.
identical. They had different faces on them. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So as we start getting into this sort of thing, you know, to say like humanity may have lost a lot of its knowledge, how do you go to recover something like that? Like how far back can you really go? Like I imagine a few hundred years you're going to still find traces of different things, but
Mhm.
and you just start going further back.
Yeah.
How?
Well, they estimate that 1.6% of our existence has been recorded,
Mm,
and 1.6%. So,
mm,
wow. I mean, even what we can find is just going to be scratching the surface.
yeah.
It's not going to be
Yes.
that much.
Mm,
So, the way that we find a lot of this is by archaeological means.
mhm,
We'll dig something up, or we'll find a something written, or something
mhm,
on a stone tablet, or a lot of cuneiform. They found a lot of information in Babylonia and the areas around there. And
mhm,
those stones and tablets last thousands of years.
mhm,
You know,
mhm.
we could talk about what we're doing today. I think we're going to be in trouble.
We can't even get the concrete right. Look at the Romans. No one's been able to master that. Once it comes to
Yeah,
cement, like we can't even get to that point.
yeah. They made cement that would cure underwater.
Yes.
How do you do that? I mean, how do you get the divers down there? I mean, it's just amazing.
Oh, it is. And the aqueducts, I mean the
Yeah,
plumbing, like everything. How
the,
we can't do that easily. I don't want to just dismiss our capabilities, but realistically, it's something that seems so simple. When you look at it, you go, "Oh, that looks sort of simple." Like, the clay, piping or whatever, but it's stayed. I mean, it's withstood time.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And plumbing, that's an interesting one to bring up because in ancient Scotland, 3000 BC, they had toilets and rudimentary sewer systems.
Mhm.
The Romans had it; they had water distribution systems and sewers.
Yes.
But in the Middle Ages in Europe, there were no sewers. I mean, the sewage ran off the top of buildings and into streets. And so what happened?
That's what I was just gonna say. How do we go from this sophistication to we're just flinging buckets out of the freaking window? I'm just saying, if you're walking on the street at lower level, you're just it's sorry, right?
Yeah,
How do we go? How do we go back in time and become the primitive ones?
yeah, and that is the thing. We keep doing it over and over again, and it's easy to think, well, it happens because of a war. It happens because we lose the knowledge because of an earthquake, or there was a big fire. Um, those are good,
Mhm,
valid reasons why we lose knowledge.
mhm.
But another piece of it is that we lose it because it's not important to us enough. We're not, we think whatever it is we're doing, the war is more important,
Yes.
or or we're just not, we don't keep it in the forefront of our minds
Mhm,
when we're doing things.
mhm.
And I'll give you a good example
Please.
where I was the culprit here. So I wanted a picture that I took maybe 7 years ago or something, and I knew it was on a USB drive or a thumb drive, for your
Yes.
computer.
Yes.
And so I got 8 of them, and I started looking through them. And out of the 8 drives, only 6 worked. 2 I couldn't even get anything off of them.
Hmm.
And um, you know, we we don't think about it. When we put something on there, we're just thinking that'll be good forever. Well, no, it won't be good forever.
Mm-mm.
The USB drives, there are certain types that are designed to only work so many times on purpose. They're called NAND. They use NAND
Yeah.
technology, NAND,
Yeah.
and they are designed to only work so many times. You can look it up. Um, um, even even our hardware, you think about your computer. How long is your computer going to work? 5 years, 10 years
If
maximum.
you're lucky.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. We're a
So
disposable society though, John,
yeah.
right?
So we're
Yeah.
not really thinking about, what if you have something that's important you want your family to have, your heirs to have a long time down the road, or something you've written that is important. You know, just this is one nugget I'd like the audience to take away is, just think about it.
Mhm.
And if it's really important, make multiple copies, have redundant copies so that, you have multiple ways of finding it again. Or, um, uh, sorry to say this, but print it, print
What?
it out.
I know
Paper,
you're right. So yes.
paper will last a long time. I interviewed the curator for the computer museum right outside of San Francisco. And they have all these old computers there. They have these old IBM XTs and PCs and
Oh, I
Macintoshes.
remember those. I'm aging myself, but I do.
Yeah, yeah. Do you remember the floppy drives they
I
put in
do.
there? Yeah,
I
yep.
do. Oh
Well,
my God, the old word processors.
yeah. Well, what happened with them is that those floppy drives get old and brittle and crack, and they can't read them anymore. So what they're doing is printing their computer programs on paper so that they'll have them for the future.
Oh, that's brilliant.
So,
That's
yeah,
brilliant.
but it's going backwards.
Well, I feel like I should be out trying to carve something on the stone behind the house or something. Just like, because getting to that point, because that seems to be what remains. Like we're so when we look at all these resets, or we look at, just like everything that time forgot. And I'm going to factor in, we've probably got at least two continents under the water right now, and not to mention a whole lot of other cultures that probably took a lot down with them as well, and I mean, that's the thing. You're just looking at ancient civilizations, one off of Cuba, just down like I don't know how many, a couple thousand feet or 1,000 feet. But it's just that you see it. The water's so clear. If you're above, you can see it, and you're thinking,
uh,
this was once above water. And I always take the example, of Lake Michigan, when it's got the henge that looks like Stonehenge next to this huge boulder with a mastodon on it, and you're looking at it going, this is pre-flood. How much is sitting, you know, where it's accessible, but it's not really accessible. And when
yeah,
you start looking into your history, where, the Aztec, now they believe, made it up as far as Utah. But there's also saying that it's possible they came from Utah in the first place. The indigenous people, they're like, no, they were here first. And I'm thinking, I'm shaking my head. It's just like whiplash. So the technology is being moved around. Maybe we're just not looking in the right place.
yeah, yeah.
I don't know.
It seems like it changes all the time, as we uncover more and more.
Yeah.
Uh, you or some of your listeners may know about Göbekli Tepe in
Huh.
Turkey.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
very sensitive about that one.
yeah.
Yes.
But I mean, what is that? 10,000 years old or something?
12. And they found
12.
one
Okay.
that was a bit older just recently in the last
Yeah.
year or two.
So yeah. So
Hmm.
what are we going to find out? What did those people know? What did they do? You know,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
we have
The,
yet to find out.
and I think technology, you know, it's almost as though the planet is giving up her secrets, because now we do have technology like LiDAR and things much more sophisticated now that you can come in. and find some of these
Yeah.
lost cities, which they're doing, of course, in South America under the tree canopies, and how much technology lays beneath all of that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
exciting times for us if they'll share it.
Yeah. Yeah. True. Uh,
You know?
so I like to think that there's libraries we haven't found yet, or stores of, crypts
Mhm,
of knowledge, or
mhm.
something that is yet to be found. And I know they've looked for some. I know there's been some written about um, a big library under the Sphinx in Egypt,
Yes,
and
and they're
maybe
saying
one.
Romania.
Yeah.
They're saying Romania. There's one that they have recently discovered, and I thought, "Okay, well, that's a crazy place to find one, but why not? It would sure take care of a lot of the Germanic and Slavic areas up in that neck of the woods, I imagine."
Yeah.
Mm,
So it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. And you're right. I mean, they've found all kinds of things with the lidar, and
yes.
yeah,
Well we have technology, I'd like to say, on our side for that. I mean, many, many different sites have been found through archaeology using satellite in Egypt. They have found so much that they believe they would never have found without that technology beneath the sand.
yeah, yeah.
That's a pretty big deal. But when you're factoring it all in, I mean, if I have to say in your research, with all of these different, civilizations and cultures, who do you feel were the most advanced?
Well, I think advanced is kind of a relative word.
Okay. Okay. Correct me then.
How, how,
I'm your
how,
student.
how do we measure advanced, really?
Yes.
Um, if we think about it in today's world, we think they're advanced if they know all this technology, and
Mhm.
and that sort of thing. But maybe advanced in,
Yes.
6,000 years ago was more spiritual. You know, Technology and spirituality were once the same. There was no difference.
Yes.
They were one,
Mhm.
and they've only been split apart, relatively recently, we'll say, by humankind. Um, and so if you take a look at being really advanced, maybe the most advanced people were the ones who understood how these things all played together. You know,
Mhm.
the the, the spiritual, you know, world, and
Mhm.
the physical world, and how they interacted. And maybe they understood that better back
Mhm.
when they were building a pyramid, and they knew how to pick
Mhm.
a stone up and slide it over,
Yeah.
real easy.
No, I would agree with you. I think everything is spirituality based in one form or another. It has a lot to do with, now they'll tell you consciousness or quantum, a whole other level of consciousness. When you look at, for example, on the quantum level, let's just think of animals, for example, using infrasound, like, and telepathy. This is all stuff that we apparently, our mighty creator said, "I'm not going to send you down there naked. I'm going to give you gifts." And then we get here and it's just like, what gift? You realize these abilities that you were given, because you see it in children, where they're very insightful, like they're able to, I always say they're
Yeah,
like little mini psychics. They can see things and they have a better understanding. And as we get older and life gives you challenges, everything, the spiritual aspect of everything seems to get shelved for a while. And it's hard to get back to it when you just get into a more regimented, careers and busy lifestyles. But we all apparently had these abilities as children, not so much telepathy. I mean, a lot of people are telepathic. If they, not a lot of them are talking about it because you might find them in certain programs. but 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 with that being said, we apparently have been given this incredible gift to. I think the intuition and the spirituality was just to keep our connection to source, to God, and just to so we would never feel like we were alone. But somewhere along the lines, you start blaming your creator for everything. It's like, where's those gifts you promised? Well, you forgot how to use them, but they are there. And that to me goes back to the very beginning when you talk about spirituality, right? It's our
Yeah.
connection.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to believe we were more connected longer ago
I
in
agree.
some way.
I agree.
Somehow we had a better connection to that part of ourselves, or that part of the, existence, whatever you want to call it.
Hmm.
Um, And we're trying to find our way back home, you know,
Yes. Do you
different ways.
do you think it's like, do you think technology, because we are made up of energy, that is part of our spirituality. I say we're beings of light having a human experience, because we're energy beings. We have essence. So we are affected as energy beings, I think, by other energies. And I think back in the day, and I could be wrong because now with all this technology stuff you're talking to me about, I'm like, maybe there was something else. But I think we have these external um, synthetic man-made frequencies that are out there now, right? I mean, microwaves, all of that. I mean, we live in a technology-based world, so all of this comes with it. Um, but back then, we didn't have that interfering with our own antennas, I guess is the best way I can put it.
Yeah, we don't really maybe understand the full effect of everything when we do some of these technological,
Yeah.
improvements. They can have some negative effects on yourself, and who knows on what other parts of um, your thinking, or
Hmm.
even your being. Yeah.
Hmm.
So we have to be careful about it, and they try to be safe with it. But
Yes. Yes.
but
Of course, the world we live in is part of advancing, I think. But
yeah,
maybe now, as we speak of technology, maybe now with AI, how much will AI uncover?
yeah. Well, so here's an interesting thing. Uh, back when the written word first came out, Socrates said that it was going to be the end of the human mind. He said that was going to ruin us.
Wow.
And if we move further, when the book came out, when
Yeah.
they printed books, there were
Yes.
people that were protesting, saying, "Oh no, no books. We don't want books. People are going to all this knowledge. They're going to write down
That's why
things.
we can't find our technology, Jack. They wouldn't allow books.
It's going to be terrible." And then,
Yeah.
fast forward I remember when the calculator came out, or even when the computer came out,
Yeah.
it was everybody thought, "Oh, this is going to be terrible," all the bad things and so on. But each one of these has been a progression
Mhm.
in our growth,
Evolution. Yes.
yeah, in our evolution. And so it's all going to lead somewhere, and
Mhm.
we'll either keep going or we won't.
Yes.
Those are the two choices.
I'm gonna take my abacus and go home. That's what
Yeah.
I'm gonna do.
Yeah, and then we'll start over again.
We
But
will. But I think this has been an ongoing thing. Do you think maybe, when you had these ancient civilizations, some of them were huge, some of them were smaller. Do you think when with the spiritual aspect of things and you being a bit more enlightened, I'm wondering if it's just more creative minds working together as opposed to, so many people now just sort of like, okay, I'm the creative mind in this outfit and I'm going to figure it out. And then you just have, the helping hands kind of thing.
yeah, um, you know, I think it's all part of our growth. I think
Yeah.
we're just going to continue to learn from it,
Hmm.
and become better. You think about every great civilization, the
Yeah.
Chinese, the emperor, and the emperors that were there. I mean, they were eventually overthrown, or Rome,
Yes.
was eventually overthrown. Um, and I think as long as we keep our heads about us and do the right things,
Hmm.
it'll be okay. And
Right.
usually it's okay anyways. I mean, even though the Romans were overthrown, well, the world continued and we did get
Hmm.
better, you know.
Yes. And
So,
and of course, with every ruler becomes a new set of priorities and new rules and regulations and what was important, even technology wise or knowledge wise. With this emperor, for example, the new guy comes along. It's like the pharaohs. I'm just going to scrub all your information out of here again. Hence why knowledge was missing, and I'm going to put my own stuff
yeah,
up here. You
yeah,
know, maybe
yeah.
something like that.
A lot of those guys did that. Yeah,
But yeah, a new chief at the helm, and again, new priorities and the knowledge changes, and some of it gets suppressed because I think, as time goes on, you just sort of want to keep certain classes, class of people. It's like, okay, you're the farmer, and you guys are the scholars, you guys are the warriors, and I'm just the king, and I get to say what you all do. So,
yeah,
right. So, how much sort of got missed in there or misplaced, for select few that ended up, over time, even going into select families, and that's the way it goes. It's just the hierarchy.
yeah. Maybe we'll hopefully. I mean, the hope is that we figure this out. But over the years, over the eons, there's been the same thing has happened. I
Hmm.
mean, I talked about Qin Shi,
Yes.
200 BC. He did this thing where he outlawed all their scrolls and writings and libraries. And if you
Wow.
were caught with one, if you're caught with a scroll, he would tattoo you on the forehead and send you to work on the Great Wall of China. And
Wow, that's
there's
harsh.
yeah, the guy, he was
Yes.
tough.
Yeah, that is tough, but it's the age-old story. I mean, look at through time how they found the Dead Sea Scrolls. How much stuff got just buried for that same reason. You couldn't have the knowledge,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
that
So,
happens all the time. And you could say, is it happening today? Maybe
well,
somewhere
sure,
for sure.
sure it does. Yes. So I guess when you think about what's the clearest historical examples of knowledge that vanish to be rediscovered centuries later would be Dead Sea Scrolls is a good one
Yeah.
because that did resurface. And in your opinion, what else?
Well, we've had a lot of information that has been, put behind us. I know we just don't think about it. I was talking about the vending machine that
That's a
the
good
hero
one.
Hero of
Yeah.
Alexandria invented in 10 BC. It was a vending machine, and you would put a Roman coin in, and it would dispense holy water at temples.
Oh,
And not only that, he had a version that would put steam out on an idol's face, and it would make it look like it was crying so that they would get more donations. So
it's brilliant.
have people changed that much? I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
I
I
don't
think we're
know.
still doing that. I think we're still doing that.
Something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's just so many examples of information. You talked a little bit about Library of Alexandria.
Yes.
UNESCO says that they documented the destruction of over 6,000 libraries, or damage or destruction of over 6,000 libraries in the 1900s alone. So
Wow.
we know that there's a lot of information that's been
Yes.
lost,
Yes.
like that.
Well, I mean, how many times do we hear, okay, we're burning books. Even like modern times, people get upset with a certain author or, or a certain topic, or we go through these these swings, and then all of a sudden, like when was the last major book burning? Like I think it was on like the turn of the century or something, and they were just throwing books in piles and letting them go, and it's thinking, oh, that's sad because there's a lot of really, really good things that are just disappearing.
Yeah. There's even, spiritual books.
Yeah.
The Book of Mysteries. It's in the, I must try to say this here, the Machinean Canyon, I think is how that's called.
Okay.
Um, and the Book of Giants. I mean,
Oh,
we know about these books because other authors wrote about them,
yes.
but we don't know where the books are. The Hindu Lost Vedas is another one.
That's
Uh,
yeah, yeah. That one is one of those that they say something that they don't even have an understanding of it because they never really got to really I guess observe it, or not enough people were able to read it and really get a handle on what it was. Very advanced.
yeah,
So that's another one. I don't know. It's I think when you look at things like that, um, we just have to, as society, and again, maybe this is where spirituality comes in. We have to, as society, think we can't just withhold the stuff. Like I think of the Smithsonian, because when we talk about the Book of Giants, for example, the Smithsonian dumped hundreds of giant bones in the ocean.
mhm.
That's our museum. It's like, shouldn't
Yeah.
they be preserving this stuff?
I was talking to somebody about that last scene at Raiders of the Lost Ark, where they
Yes.
have the Ark and they take it away and they take it into this huge warehouse.
Yeah.
We're going to keep it safe.
Yes. Like
So,
Ethiopia safe. This little
well,
one guy. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. I think I think there's a lot of stuff like that. How much of it do you think might even be hidden in plain sight that they just don't know what certain things are?
yeah, well, that's a great example. Well, we talked about the pyramids, and that's right in front of us.
Yes.
And there's probably a lot of other examples of things. There's really interesting ones that we've tried to reproduce.
Mhm.
The Archimedes death ray,
Yes.
that was used during the Roman siege of Syracuse,
Mhm.
213 BC. That was done by Archimedes. He was another great inventor. He was a Greek mathematician, physicist, engineer. He did astronomy,
Mhm.
did all kinds of stuff. And we've tried. Universities have tried to reproduce that,
Mhm.
and we have tons of records that say that it actually happened. And he was able to hold off the Roman army for, I don't know what it was, a year and a half
Mhm.
from taking over Syracuse.
Mhm.
But uh, we don't know how that was done, but we have records that it was done.
Mhm. And now with technology, I imagine that they can really, um, visually
So,
get good photos of it, or however they analyze these things now.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
But of course, today, if we were going to do something like that, we'd have a laser. Use a laser beam.
This laser solves the problems for everything. Um, when you think about even something like the Shroud of Turin, some
Mm,
people are all about it, some people not so much. But the mystery of it, though, was that there was no known method for creating the image with this a negative image.
yeah,
Like they haven't been able to figure that out.
yeah, yeah. That's an interesting one, and you got to really w- wonder or maybe
Yeah.
believe, something happened there that
Yes.
was miraculous. So, and it left an image. So, yeah, was that technology. I mean, if you want to call that technology, that's like the ultimate technology,
It is.
God's technology, just like the
Yes.
Ark of the Covenant. If
Wow.
that was a communication device of some sort of technology that they used to
Hmm.
talk with God. And how did that work? I mean, has anybody been able to put that together and figure that out?
You know what? Like they say, the closest things you can get to it is, people going in like to the the Temple of David or and Solomon, that you would go to the very back of the temple, and that only select priests could be there, right? And they had these breastplates, but with the different stones on them.
Hmm.
And so it's sort of like, okay, so did it react to some of the stones? Who knows? But it talked about people being able to just go into this other dimension. And this is kind of the stuff that was written about, coming from people who were within this area. And like people would just they would say, well, they're angels, because it could just come back and forth. And I'm kind of like going, that's like a portal, like a Stargate or something. Was the ark itself, able, like the barrier that would open up this space? It's incredible when you think about it. It's just like, to me, it's mind blowing, to think about some of this ancient technology. But again, if you're looking, let's say, if they had assistance from, you know, otherworldly beings, then I suppose anything is possible. And it
Yeah,
would explain maybe why it's gone now.
yeah. Well, they are doing some interesting research. Been watching this one show, Skinwalker Ranch,
Oh, yeah.
and they're finding some things there that are pretty amazing and very physical evidence. I mean, there's no question that
No.
they're finding things that are
Again, the
highly
technology, though,
advanced somehow.
right? The
Yeah,
technology with the drones, how they're forming, they're imaging, and they're seeing there's this dome triangle thing, and everything within it just goes away. So you're sort of like, you know, technology is great when it's your friend, but not so much when it works against you. But it is one of these places that is a bit of an anomaly. And I like all the scientific stuff that they're also doing to try to validate it, because otherwise it just comes under pseudoscience if you're not
yeah,
doing anything to
right.
really substantiate it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And they've been doing all the testing of materials they're finding in universities and
Hmm.
that sort of thing. So it's very hard to refute. You can't really
Yes.
argue too much.
Yes. No, that's for sure. And it's funny because listening to Robert Bigelow, people say, "Why did you sell it?"
Mm.
Because of the hitchhiker effect. Things kept following me. It's like, that's creepy. So you're getting into a whole other thing. It's just one of these places like that. It's just very mysterious on so many different levels. But it is quite fascinating. I just love these sort of things. Um, so when we talked about natural catastrophes, wiping out, and wars, just wiping out a lot of this accumulated knowledge. Um, what about people who have all of these? And this is something I want to mention earlier, with especially our indigenous communities, with all of this oral tradition and oral history
Mhm.
and going back. Like, is it possible to be able to, get some of this ancient knowledge if they're willing to share? That's what makes it really hard.
Well, oral tradition is a big part of a lot of cultures, of
Yes.
course, Native American, but
Yeah.
there's other cultures as well that use that technique for extending knowledge.
Hmm.
And many of the things that are done, even written, if we look at some old manuscripts, they're
Mhm.
written in such a way to make them easy to memorize
Mm.
so that the people can remember them, uh,
Mhm.
and 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 pass them on because, well, for much of time there wasn't written word.
Yeah.
So that was the best way to
Hmm.
pass it on.
Hmm.
And only certain people could read and write. So
That's
it
true.
wasn't good for the average
Yeah,
person.
that's
But,
true. But
but
how
there,
many stayed within the communities and not they didn't go outside of the communities? Like many of our, indigenous people here, I mean, within your community, this was their oral tradition. You go, for example, the Hopi, they're very, very, very forthcoming with a lot of their information, but you're not allowed to necessarily see the petroglyphs and everything else that has the prophecy on it, but they will tell you all kinds of it, and they will verbalize it or vocalize it to you. So how many situations perhaps are like that stay within these tight-knit communities?
yeah, yeah. And that is a very effective way to pass on knowledge,
Mhm,
doing it that way. Because why? Because you have redundancy. You
mhm,
have multiple people who know this. So it's hard unless the whole culture gets destroyed somehow or dies off. Um,
mm,
that oral tradition will live on.
mhm. And that did happen to some cultures.
Yeah.
If you are getting into things, like we'll go with Atlantis or ancient Lemuria, some of these places that are now gone that we may never have any idea, right? And
What they
but
knew or yeah, yeah,
yeah, for sure. I mean, Atlantis, they were supposed to be so advanced, and they're gone. So unless, we know that they spread out a bit, but I mean, again, like how much information is gone just through the real ancient stuff. But oral tradition, I think, is a wonderful. Um, when we get into even modern knowledge, right? Modern knowledge compared to, let's say, ancient forms of record keeping. We talked about floppy disks and everything else. How do we have some of this technology? Because a lot of it is considered, again, depending on what it is, but anything really substantial would be considered classified. So it makes it really difficult to say, hey, I want in on that.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's part of what we do over to ourselves.
Yes.
There's a very famous manuscript. This is kind of mysterious in a way. This Voynich manuscript. Have you
Mm.
seen that one? Uh,
Yes.
it's 100 pages, and it's got all these really, what do you want to say, far out pictures in there. And we think it was written maybe in the 1400s. And it's housed, that document's housed at the Rare Book Museum at Yale University in the
Mm,
library there. And they've had linguists, scholars, and cryptologists all working on that document to try to figure it out. And they know they can do tests on the document. What do you want to call them? They're kind of numerical tests on the script. They know it's a real language. They know it isn't one that somebody made up for a book or
mm,
something like that. They know there were 5 different people that wrote it. The linguists have done mathematical tests on it, and they know it follows a certain law that natural languages all follow. So they know that that document is a real thing. It's not likely that it's anything made up. Yet we don't know what it says. We can't decode it. And
see,
you know,
yeah.
they've tried everything. AI can't work very effectively on something
What's
like that.
But it's
But
it's still it's still programmed by humans, right? So I imagine somebody would have to have some inclination as to what the language was,
right,
you
yeah.
know?
So yeah, so I mean, there's an example of something that's right in front of us that we can't figure out. We don't
Mhm.
know what it
S-
is.
So it's so unusual, and to our knowledge, it's the only one of its kind. So what is being done to preserve it?
to preserve that document? Well, it is housed at the library there, and I think it's you can go and you can
Yeah.
see it online. Of course, you can view it
Yeah.
and take a look at it yourself. I bought a copy of it. You can buy a book that has
Yes.
a copy of it,
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah. It would be a
there.
shame if this whole building is housed in just sort of, you know, that's what
Yeah,
I'm saying. Like it's really difficult because it goes back to the ancient library of Alexandria. Things happen and we lose so much that way. But these treasures are they're very few and far between now. So just to get your hands on one and really try to protect it, I guess. I don't
yeah,
know. I
yeah.
don't know.
We
So,
found some other things. Another example of something we found
mhm,
that we don't know anything about is the ancient Roman dodecahedrons. Have you seen one of these?
I
I,
don't know.
I, I bought one on eBay or on Pinterest, I think. I don't have it with me here. I'm traveling
Yeah.
today, but it's a dodecahedron. It's about that big,
Hmm.
and it's got dodecahedron means it has 12 sides. So
Hmm.
it has six sides on the top of it and six sides on the bottom of it.
Okay.
And it's got holes on each of the sides. Um, and each hole is a different size. And the interesting thing about these is they've found 100 of them or so. They were all used around the year 300 in around Roman encampments in Europe, and we don't know what they were for. We have no idea what these were used for,
Wow.
and it's only. I mean, we think there's conjecture. We think they were tools for knitting, or a rangefinder, a measuring device, candlestick, uh, a dice for gambling, or for divination. There's we don't really know what that thing was for. Now, it's probably not going to make a
Yeah.
big impact on our lives,
It's
but
still a curiosity.
yeah, it's like, what is this? What is this for? You know,
Hmm.
why did they
Yes.
make it? You know, yeah,
Yes. Yes. Well, the knitting thing is interesting considering they were found around all of these Roman encampments. It's just like, the guys taking up knitting while they're waiting. I don't know, but no, it is very interesting. There's a lot of little doodads like that surface, and people will just you know that's what makes it interesting, though. Has anyone tried? Like, well, obviously they're being recreated because you got one.
yeah, yeah. I think they use one of these 3D printers to print one, and so
Yeah.
you can buy them pretty cheap. But yeah, look one up online. They're really interesting looking. The way these dodecahedrons are, they're
Hmm.
called ancient Roman dodecahedrons. Yeah,
Yeah, that is so very cool. That is so very cool. Um, do you find in because I have friends who are archaeologists, and some of them are much more open-minded than others. And when I ask and pose the question and say, like, why is it that so many people are against certain knowledge? Like this gentleman I know who's got all of this information on these very rare, unique pieces from the Knights Templar from Tamar. Like they went
oh,
into hiding and now they're out to share with the world, and no people have never seen anything like this. Modern academics are like, well, the archaeologists didn't find them, so what is that supposed to mean? Like if they're here, you know but how many things sit in private collections? Why do you think there's such resistance, I guess, is where I'm going with it, from modern academia with this sort of things when it comes to lost knowledge and trying to get a hold of it and preserve it?
well, that's an interesting effect that happens. If we look back in history at Einstein,
Mm.
and just before Einstein published his first paper, on relativity, the head of the um, physics society at the time went on record to say that all of physics had already been discovered and that there were no new discoveries left to find.
Mm.
And I don't know, if it's a ego thing or if it's a, you know, just not too well thought out, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
But then shortly thereafter, Einstein publishes his paper that totally upends everything, in physics. And I think there's humility required. And I think if we're not humble, and I do talk about this in the book,
Mhm. Mhm.
part of what we have to be and have to do is be humble and realize we don't know it all, and that there are other ideas out there, and maybe some of the old ideas are just as good as the ones that we have today, or maybe
Mm.
they're better,
Mhm.
and just being open to it. It doesn't mean you have to, but it means to be open. So I think, that plays a role in some of these folks,
Mhm.
and that, and
Humility, that, that's a big one, just the death of the ego and kind of getting back into spirituality
yeah,
as a whole. I think the cataract surgery is a perfect example of that. With a 400-year span, you go from 90 something percent success to half of that in a
yeah,
very short period of time. So that's definitely suppressed, forgotten, hidden,
yeah,
you know. But yeah, I would agree. I would agree with you on that. That's ego. That is the big one, and it begs to differ, or begs to ask rather, because of this, how much of it is actually being, I don't know, kept from us, and how much do they look at it and say, well, this doesn't deserve to be looked at? Who
yeah.
determines this is something deserving of, here we go, let's present this to the world as a thing? Is it the reset thing, do you think? Like, it's just nobody wants to talk about some of these cultures that came before us?
I don't know. Another thing that might play a role here is fear. You
Mm.
know, uh, some kind of fear,
Mhm.
fear of being wrong, or fear of doing something that they shouldn't, or
Mhm.
saying something that they shouldn't, or fear of
Mhm.
their job. Or, I
Yeah.
don't know. You
Yeah.
know, different levels of that.
Mhm.
Fear of not being in charge, or not being the smartest anymore, or something. I'm
Or
not
how
sure.
could something old rival the
Yeah,
technology we have now? I could see academics being like, I don't want to be the laughing stock. We are much more advanced than this primitive stuff. Like, I could see that. And funding.
yeah,
Funding and
yeah.
research is a big one.
So they're being careful, which is, you got to realize that that's part of it, I suppose.
Mhm.
They have to be that way, but I think being open to, I mean, there's something to be said for people that go out there and do something, and just bring some new ideas to the forefront.
Mhm.
Maybe they're not 100% right, but
Mhm.
maybe they're 80% right, or even 50% right. But
Mhm.
I know there's people out there. I know I read a little bit about Graham Hancock and
Yeah.
saw some of his stuff.
Yeah.
He's got some
Fascinating.
good points,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
But he's not your average academic, so they kind of scoff him off, poo-poo him, goes, "No, never mind." But maybe I'll pose it this way. Do you think that there are certain cultures, with respects to different countries, who are more open to it than maybe what we are in the West? And why I say that is because I've traveled many, many parts of the world, and
mhm,
I'm looking at all of these old structures and buildings. I'm looking at the architecture. I'm like, oh my God. But they want to preserve it.
mhm,
You can't build here until we've checked it out and looked in there and see if there's any archaeology to be had, preservation first. And then we have, here in the West, we just seem to be a bit more relaxed and we don't want to talk about it. Or we just bowl over it. I mean, we can put a whole city over top of us, of cemetery and old villages, and Our priorities are different.
Yeah, yeah. You're probably right on with that. I mean, you go to India or
Yeah.
some of these places where they have these old structures that have been there for thousands of years,
Mm.
and yeah, probably Greece, and
Mm-hmm.
there's
Yes.
many places around the world
Mm.
that have these ancient structures, and it does have to play a role in how the culture of those people are thinking, and how they think
Mm.
about the past. Maybe they're a little bit more open to it because of that. They see it.
Education may be conditioned to like, no, we have to preserve our past. I think more than in the West, you're supposed to be, we're advanced. We're the United States. We have this, and it's true. I mean, on many levels, but we still have archaeology. We still have ancient civilizations here. Um, you know, I know people with properties are coming up and look, there's a monolith here, or there's like a pre-Columbian wall on my property in the back in the woods. And like, what? Things just get grown over, or I guess forgotten about.
Yeah, yeah, but they have found some pretty old structures here.
Hmm.
I know a lot. There's Indian mounds, outside of New Orleans. I know there's some
Hmm.
north of there. There's some in Illinois. There's some in
The Serpent
uh,
Mounds. Where is it?
yeah,
Ohio?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Have you ever been to America's Stonehenge?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you have to. If you're ever interested in going, I can get you the information to the owner. He's been on the show a couple of times. American Stonehenge, I believe, is it Maine or Massachusetts? It's out that way.
Uh,
Incredible. It's they're ancient, these ancient structures. Incredible. Been in the same family for a lot of years, and they
wow,
just try to preserve it and excavate and preserve what they can. And there's lots there. There was a civilization there. There was a culture there.
that would be great to see that. Yeah, I was just up in that area recently, so
Oh, really?
do it on my
See that?
next trip.
Yeah, I'll connect you up. I'll connect you up if you decide you would like to go. I'll connect you up. It's incredible. It's incredible. If you just
Well,
Google it, you'll see all kinds of things. And the owner's name is Dennis Stone and his family. So you could always, just say, okay, I'm here. You were highly recommended by so and so. Be like, okay. That way you're not going in blind. but but I think for what you are looking, all of the stuff that you are looking for, you can go in and see things like what the something that used to look like what they think may have been a birthing chamber. It's this crazy structure that's just, it's just amazing when you look at how the ancients used to do things. It's just, and some of this still exists, but it's interesting to see it on this side of the world.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
Because we tend to think that everything here is new, but
Mm.
I think just the old stuff's just hard to see.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. There's just so much. Um, well, I don't know. I think the more that we open our eyes, but most importantly, open our minds.
Hmm.
You know, um, so when we're getting into um, ancient materials or techniques,
Hmm.
how do you replicate that today?
Yeah. Well, there is some pretty interesting examples of things they've done with food. Yeah. They've taken samples out of um, the to make bread
Hmm.
out of Pompeii, and they found like samples of where they were baking the bread, and
Hmm.
they were able to reproduce the recipe for the bread that they made there.
Wow.
And yeah, and so they are making bread from 2,000-year-old recipes.
To me,
Um,
that's amazing. Like
yeah,
sourdough bread is one I think
yeah,
that I've read recently that you can get really old recipes for that. So must be similar.
yeah, and also they've done it with beer. They found recipes for beer, I think on cuneiform tablets, and they've been able to reproduce the beer that they drank 4,000, 5,000 years ago.
That is crazy. That
Yeah,
is crazy. I mean, they used to even let the kids drink beer back in the day, like way back in the day,
yeah.
right? That's the thing.
Well, they know even around the pyramids that there's big vats where they made beer for the workers there. So
That's how they got.
a bunch of drunk guys.
Yeah, keep your workers happy.
Well, that that's true.
Interesting, though. Yeah, no, very
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Yeah.
But they know that the workers, I know they've seen some of the hieroglyphs like that were hidden in the top of the pyramids, that
Hmm.
those workers did it because not because they were forced to, but they were happy workers. I mean, they
Hmm.
did it because they wanted to, and
Yes.
they liked doing it. So maybe the beer
Beer.
is it.
Free beer. You live 6-ton blocks. That's right, Wayne. Oh, gosh. See, we're doing it all wrong. But no, it's good to make fun, but it is very interesting that they were able to figure a lot of that stuff out. Something it seems just so simple, but there it is, and you are essentially drinking a recipe that was around 4,000 years ago.
Well,
You know, no preservatives. That's the
no,
best.
be all natural. Yeah.
Yeah, organic beer. That's even better. So if you were a future archaeologist, do you think that how do you think they would view our civilization and everything we leave behind? Probably
Yeah.
be all
So,
gone, but it would be
yeah. Well, if that doesn't happen, you could think about it. If, if, a future archaeologist in 300 years, 500 years, 1,000 years digs up a cell phone and says, "Hey, look at this. What is this?"
there's so many of them.
There's so many of them. Yeah. Well, how do you turn it on? Even how would you even if you could turn it on, you wouldn't know how to do anything with it. It's got
Yeah.
a security code on it or whatever. Um,
Yes.
it's just really uh, unless we do something to bridge the knowledge, over the future, it's
Mm.
going to be very difficult for them
Mhm.
to do anything to decode it or to figure it out. Um,
I think it's because our knowledge is or our technology is so disposable.
yeah, that's probably part of it. But also, the other piece of it is that we haven't really thought about it. We don't really, when we invent something, we're thinking, oh, wow, how much more data can I get on this device? And
It's
how
the
much
next best
smaller?
thing, right?
Yeah,
It's
how
like, here's
small?
iPhone 50. Meanwhile, I'm
Yeah,
still holding on to number 3. So it's really, yeah, it advances so quick.
but I don't think it would take much for us to lose a lot of what we have. And just think if we lost, our there's this thing called a Carrington event.
Mhm.
It happened in the 1800s, 1860, I think.
Mm.
In 1860, we only had telegraph wires is all we had
Yeah.
back then. And there was a Carrington event, which is a very, very large electromagnetic pulse, solar storm from the sun. And of course, the sun has to be pointed directly at the right spot for the Earth to get hit.
Mm.
But it happened, and this event occurred, and this huge electronic or electromagnetic storm hit the Earth, and it energized all the power lines and started fires at the telegraph stations.
Wow.
And if we were to have something like that happen today, what would that cause? I mean, what would that do? And
Mm.
it would be a mess. Things would be in a terrible shape.
Yes.
So, would that send us back to the ice age, or to going
Mhm.
out and making it, I don't know what effect that would have,
Mm,
but certainly it would make things very difficult for us.
I agree. I think if we had cataclysm tomorrow, how many of us would not survive just because we don't know we don't know how to do any, like, basic things. Some
Yeah,
do, don't get me wrong, but on an average, as a society, are we really advancing? I mean, I know Nikola Tesla could pull energy out of the ether. You're going back into times where you'd see these blimps just kinda going up to the Empire State Building and just bzz. It's just kind of fueling up with energy, like, he knew this. At the World Fair, he had, oh, how many hundreds of light bulbs that he just fired up through the ether. How did we go from that in just the 1800s to where we are right now? And we've got power lines going off in every community.
yeah. I don't know. I think part of it's
Yeah.
greed, you know,
Mm,
want to make money.
yes.
Um,
But you could do
Tesla,
that and still be advanced.
yeah, 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 for
Yeah.
sure. Tesla died very poor, I believe.
Yes.
And, you know, so it doesn't, we don't really reward that kind of knowledge or behavior. He certainly was a quirky man,
He
wasn't,
was.
yeah,
But they
but
knew enough to take all those boxes of files out when he died.
yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
who knows what was in that, right? Yeah.
Well, you could just ask Donald Trump's uncle. He was the guy who went in and got it all.
Mhm.
And only certain ones were returned to the family. But, it lends to that conspiracy of time travel, Donald Trump and, Baron Trump and his friend Donald, which kind of goes back. It's a lot of fun. It's fun to play with because the book was you read the book and you're kind of like, see, there's something to that. It just goes back to this whole backing up with the technology because, allegedly, Nikola Tesla had this time travel stuff down and help contribute, his information helped contribute even to the Philadelphia experiment and things like that. So your mind can really take off on you. So, is what I'm saying. But we can't seem to get past a certain stage. Like, I feel, and I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on this. Should we not be at least 100 years ahead than what we are right now?
Hmm. Well, we always could be further ahead, of course. I think it goes back to really being humble, and
Yeah.
thinking about what there is available and using that knowledge, that ancient
Mm.
knowledge. I
Yeah.
think if we did that a little bit more consistently, it could help us. I mean, think about it. The past is only good for one thing. It's only good for one thing, and
Yeah.
that's to learn from.
Yeah.
Because you can't change it. You can't, you can't necessarily, well, you can forget it, but um, the usefulness of it, and even in your personal life, it's only good for one thing. It's just to learn from.
Mhm.
So, use that as a stepping stone to get to the next place in your life. And we should use that as stepping stones to go forward as well. And you
Yes.
can see examples all the time where we're not using the past. We're making mistakes as we make decisions on things because we're ignoring the past. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Try to stay away from so many narratives and just try to, just to be open-minded. I think we as a society tend to follow certain formulas or narratives, and we don't look outside that. We have tunnel vision,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Whereas I think a lot of the great inventors of the time, they would just look they would look to the stars, like, it was this they looked at all the possibilities,
Right. Yeah.
you know? They might be looked at like, as a heretic, like poor Galileo, but, you know, but in the end, did he not have it right? I mean, here
Yeah.
we are. So maybe that would be a good reason to just say, yeah, we're just not going to put out this invention. I don't know. But I know there's just so much, to your book. And I did put in the show description, I did put where they could find the book, and I gave a link, to Amazon and so on. So, what do you have coming up next? You're
Oh,
writing
yeah.
another book?
Yeah, well, I got a couple things going on. Yeah, my website, lostintime.world. If you need that, it's
Uh,
really easy. That works.
lostintime.world. I'm going to put that up in here.
Yeah, try that out. It's an easy one. Take you to my website. Coming up, what do I have? I have a couple of things. Just for this book, I have an audio version that'll be coming out April 1st.
Hmm.
So you can look forward to that if you like you're an audiophile. Um,
Yes.
you can listen to it. And next, I've got a book coming out. I'm going to be doing some expansion on some more of these topics, the same
Mhm.
topics, or new topics actually. Uh,
Yes.
but maybe I'll put ice in there. I've forgotten about ice, but that's a good one.
That is a good one.
Yeah,
But yeah, the Sultan Saladin.
yeah. I'll have to give you a shout out. And going to look at monoliths and megaliths above and below ground. So I'd like to
Oh.
study, monoliths underground. There's a lot of places where there's some very interesting structures underground,
Mm-hmm.
caves, the huge cave complexes that reverberate with certain frequencies, and
Mm-hmm.
try to investigate that a little bit and see if we can figure out why.
Yeah.
Why did they do this? Why did they build it this way? There must be a reason. So,
You'd have to see if the cave systems in Peru, the old quartz caves,
mm,
people don't last very long in there. They used to let people go in because of the heat of
oh,
going down, but the crystals are like the size of buildings.
whoa.
Yeah, that might be worth checking out. So, do you think that there is, I mean, when you go into the monoliths underground, for example, and cave systems, do you think that there could have been ancient civilizations way down, or do you believe in the inner earth theory at all with all of this?
Mm, I, I haven't looked too much into it, so
It's
I'm not
far out
sure.
there, but it makes you
Yeah,
wonder, what were you putting a monolith underground for? I
yeah.
had to
But
ask.
but these civilizations did live underground, and
Yeah.
there has to be some thing that's linking all this together. I mean, there's some reason why. Why were the Mayans building those structures that way?
Mhm.
Why did the Egyptians build them that way?
Mhm.
There's some reason for it that um, escapes us, and it'd be great to figure that out.
I think it comes back down to this knowledge, this ancient knowledge that only certain I mean, you know what? You could have had anybody in that ancient time and everybody was aware of the same thing.
Yeah,
Right? I mean, they were all, because I mean, how many things are surfacing in different parts of the world? And we had this notion that nobody from the other side of the world ever made their way to this side of the world. Yet there were so many similarities. When I think of the Stonehenge in Lake Michigan, next to this boulder with a petroglyph of this mastodon sort of thing, or this this big furry elephant just sitting there. You're looking at it going, it's pre-ice age, but it's smaller version of some of the henges of like Stonehenge and other parts of the world. So somewhere along the line they came across the top and just settled and did these incredible things. And when you think of these monoliths being underground. It kind of also reminds me of the whole Easter Island thing where they see these heads from here up, but they dig down and they're massive underground,
yeah,
And I saw this interesting image of an artist portraying what the pyramids actually look like. We see the little tips of everything. And you've got these just large these obelisks, and you're kind of going, I see what you did there, but I don't know. But can you imagine if it was something really that simple underneath and we're theorizing, and meanwhile, no, that just, the flood came in, added a bunch of sand, and here we are. Like, I would find it very amusing, but it just goes to show, though, realistically, all joking aside, that there is still so much
yeah.
that we don't know anything about. And I, for one, would be super interested in, in hearing all about that book. I would love to see what you come up with, because I mean, I've seen what you've done with this book, and I wish we had more time to really dig into it. But I know, that's not something that you see a lot of people writing about to the
Yeah.
detail that you write.
Oh, thank you so much.
Oh, it's a pleasure. And I thank you so much for joining me tonight. I loved our discussion, and I love bouncing the ideas around, and you are a wealth of information. And it was a pleasure to sit across from you tonight.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I enjoyed it thoroughly. So it's great.
Thank you. Thank you. And to everyone else who is in the chat room, thank you guys all for joining in. I see you had your whole other world going on in there, and a lot of great comments and such. So I appreciate you all so very much. Tomorrow night, please join us for an open discussion with Wayne Mallows on the exploration of the shadow people phenomena. Who are they? Where do they come from? What do they want? And why do they keep surfacing throughout, not just, paranormal and such, but again, through history, amazingly enough. So thank you all for tuning in. Big thanks to the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM from the Gulf Coast, 107.7 FM from beautiful New Orleans. And a big thank you, of course, to our sponsors, Folgers Coffee. We love you. We couldn't do it without you, nor would we want to. Good night, everyone.